David Coburn is a European MEP for Scotland and a member of the Brexit Party. The perfect guest to have on for this one. David, I must confess to being ever so slightly confused about all this, and I hope you can clarify. If MPs thought that Theresa May's deal was a bad one before, why should they suddenly like it now just because she's offering to step down? It sounds like a bribe. What's going on?
Yes. Basically, Boris Johnson is more interested in saving the Conservative Party, which, quite frankly, is destroyed anyway. It's finished. It's washed up. People have no confidence whatsoever after this disgraceful exhibition of incompetence we've seen over the last 2 years. It's appalling. They've done everything possible to stop Brexit, everything possible. She's not for Brexit. She said she was. She lied when she went into the general election. She obtained her mandate by subterfuge. It's not correct. She's been spending the last 2 years trying to stop Brexit. That isn't good enough. The deal is worse than being in the European Union. It's appalling. Nobody in their right mind would sign up to this. Now, the only reason that Boris and perhaps Jacob Rees-Mogg are surprised that he's letting the side down like that they're thinking of doing it is simply to save the party because they want to run it afterwards. Boris wants to be Prime Minister, Jacob wants to be Chancellor, and if there's no Conservative Party, they're going to have a problem with that. But that's what it's all about. It'd be much better extending the Article 50 and renegotiating the whole thing from scratch with a new Prime Minister. They've got to get rid of this awful woman. She's a catastrophe. And Nigel Farage described this as a Versailles Treaty, which is exactly what it is. And look how bad the Versailles Treaty was.
Do you think now, because from what a lot of MPs are saying, that they're actually dousing Theresa May with all kinds of flattery and praise, saying that she's acting with dignity and a sense of duty. Do you think MPs will actually change their minds on this vote now? Is it likely to go through, her deal?
These people are going to be kicked out of the House of Commons. The House of Commons needs sterilising. Quite frankly, an election's what we need, and the Brexit Party will simply clean up in the House of Commons. I think normally it's very difficult for new parties to break through in the first past the post system, but the Conservative Party have been so appalling. I think that's what may happen, and they're terrified that it's the end of the Conservative Party. The Labour Party don't know what day of the week it is. All Corbyn wants is to win, but he's so appalling that nobody wants him either. The main parties are finished. It seems to me that this is a bit of a revolution. It's the people wanted something, and the establishment said no. And now it's a war between the establishment and the voters. And the voters are very, very, very unhappy. More people now want to Brexit than did when we had the vote in the first place.
There have been reports that some of your fellow MEPs have been quite scathing of events, saying that the infighting in May's party is humiliating the British people. How have MEPs been reacting?
Well, I can tell you something. I watched my colleagues, the Conservative Party, voting in the European Parliament. Now, normally we don't pay too much attention because they're also daft ways, but I noticed that they voted for more and higher taxes from Europe. They were voting in a European Union sort of way. They wanted Europe, the centralisation of taxes. And quite frankly, that is not what we want. And it's not what the Conservative Party should be standing for. So, and I asked what happens, and they said that, quite frankly, they just get dictated to from London and told what to vote for. They don't have meetings. Our party, the Brexit Party, sits down. We have meetings to decide what we're going to vote for. But the Conservative Party apparently not. It's ruled by facts from London. They don't think about it. It's a disgrace. So, quite frankly, they don't know what's going on, and they're despairing. They're only keeping quiet because they want their peerages and maybe a seat in the House of Commons. That's what they're after.
We're hearing a lot of political experts and even MPs talking almost as if there's a fait accompli now that that Theresa May's deal will be backed and she'll step down. There's a small matter of the Speaker of the Commons saying that they can't vote again on this unless it's substantially different. So how will they even get the chance, MPs, to vote on Theresa May's deal for a third time.
Goodness knows what that strange man, the Speaker, might get up to next. He's a self-publicist. It's only about how wonderful Mr. Bercow is, and anything that gives him more publicity for his book tour around America once he finishes being Speaker, that's what that's all about, quite honestly. Goodness knows what he'll allow, but he said he wasn't going to allow anything that wasn't a substantial change. Well, you never know what you might allow through. Personally, I don't think there is any substantial change. I spoke to Jean-Claude Juncker and I spoke to Barnier this morning briefly. There was no change, and there's not going to be any change. So it looks like it is as it is. The only thing we can do, as I said, Nigel Farage is pumping for an extension and then renegotiating under a new Prime Minister, and a better deal. A proper deal is better than this half-baked, cooked-up nonsense, which will just keep us in the European Union. Matter of fact, it's worse than being in the European Union because it's essentially ruled by facts. We don't have any representatives, but the European Union tell us what to do. Well, that's worse than being in the European Union.
We've been listening to the thoughts of European MEP for Scotland, a member of the Brexit Party, David Coburn. David, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.